So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to John to take us through a little game now.
Every time I do one of these, I find out how much I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing, actually. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a little game of Jeopardy. So please make sure that your answer is in the form of a question. I'm not nearly as good as Alex Trebek at this, I'm sure. But I do love one of the bullets here where I'm the final arbiter. This is the first time in my life I've ever gotten to do that. I certainly don't get to do it at home. So what we're going to do is we're going to start down and we'll start on some of these questions. There's a microphone right there, and we're also going to be able to pass a microphone around in the front so that if you want to answer one of the questions, we will. All you have to do is raise your hand, and we're going to go until somebody gets the right answer, or no one, or we can't figure it out, and then we'll give you the answer or the question. And if you have the confidence and the guts to stand up and ask a question, you actually get a prize. Okay, so feel free to participate. So let's get this game started. Let's try buying and selling for 200. Oh gosh. So the question, or the answer is, a document used to procure contract supplier services. Somebody raise their hand, anybody? Here, we got one.
What is an RFP?
Close enough. What is an RFO? Exactly. All right. At the end, see us at the end. Actually, why don't you just hand one out right now, David, if you don't mind. Okay, you get to pick the next category. Bits and bytes, buying and selling, all about the details.
All about the details for 200.
Ooh, here we go. All righty. Publications that contains a standardized framework for project management practices. Ooh, we got one in the middle. That's going to be a stretch.
Is it PMBOK?
I think I'm going to give that because it's the product management body of knowledge. So that's good. That's it. So you guys all know your acronyms so well. It was pretty interesting when we first started today. I said, boy, you know when we're working in a state environment, when we're just in IT state environment, acronyms galore. I love it. Okay, you get to select the next category. Bits and bytes for 200. Whoa. Getting information regarding the availability of services and goods. This is a hard one, I thought. Oh.
It's not hard. Come on, guys.
Oh, we got some people back here. No, I think it'd probably be easier for you to run back. Let's see if she can catch it. Don't throw it too hard.
Is it market research?
Oh, it is market research. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, you get to select the next category. Can you see them from back there? Bits and bytes, buying and selling, all about the details. Buying and selling for, you got it. The California Multiple Award Schedule is one example. Oh, come on, I can even answer this one. Okay, we're going to raise our hands. We're going to have to raise our hands. Okay.
Oh, I was saying a leveraged agreement.
Excellent. What is a leveraged procurement vehicle? If you've answered at the end, we have these books for you. All right, you get to pick the next category.
All about the details for 60.
Ooh, she's going big. The number of life cycle process groups contained in PMBOK. Here we got one right here. Oh, wait, I apologize. I couldn't see it soon enough. I don't know who raised their hands first.
What is 5?
What is 5? That is correct. Wow, you guys are good at this. All right, you get to the next category. Bits and bytes for 1,000. Bits and bytes for 1,000, going for it. The acronym is IEEE. That reminds me of first grade. I love it.
Institute of Electronic Engineers.
Excellent, and I'm even more impressed because you did it off your notes. Excellent. You absolutely deserve it. Nice job. You get to pick the next category.
Okay, I'll have food for, buying and selling for 800.
Buying and selling for 800. The order limit using the MSA procurement vehicle. I'm not sure we told anybody, but let's see. We have one back here that thinks she knows it. No, back there. Oh, okay.
What is 1.5 million?
There we go. All right, so let's see. You get to select the next category. I know, but I think I asked the wrong question. So when all of a sudden I read the question, I went, oh, you know what? That's the wrong question. But she gave the right answer to the question. So yeah, this is show business. All right, next category would you like to pick? The one I messed up with? Yeah, buying and selling for 1,000, I guess, huh? The ability for a department to conduct an IT procurement. There we go. We got one right raising his hand.
What is the delegation authority?
Excellent. That is correct. That is correct. Next category. You go ahead and pick the next category. All righty.
They all like buying and selling here.
Yeah, I know, Marnell.
Let's go, yay.
The solicitation package is developed during this PAL stage.
That would be yours. He said it. Remember back to his presentation.
Stage 3.
Excellent. Excellent. That's very good. Francisco, is he in your organization? No. Okay, all right. I thought you might have brought your ringer or something. Okay, you get to pick the next category.
So all about the details 800.
All about the details 800. The software development methodology relies on, this software development methodology relies on an iterative approach. Oh, there we go. Now we got some arms going up back there. You want to just shout it out? Somebody, in the woman in the front. You.
What is agile?
What is agile? So you get to pick. Excellent. I think we're out of buying and selling, actually. But we have, those are hard to read. Bits and bytes, 400, 800, or it's 400, 600, or 800. There we go. Yeah. The project charter is an output of this process group. You already got to play. There we go. Initiating? Yes, initiating. So I'm curious, did you guys learn all of this, or did you guys already know these answers? Okay, well, that's good, though. I mean, this is good. Okay, and what we've got left is 400 and 600 on bits and bytes, and 400 and 1,000 on all about the details. Which one did you want? Let's just go 400 on bits and bytes. He's reading his book already. During the project approval stage, the completeness and sufficiency of the business case is evaluated. No, that is incorrect. Go ahead. That is correct. PAL Stage 1. Excellent.
He's a ringer.
Yeah, okay, all right. But you know, everybody's got to bring one, right? Okay, so bits and bytes for 600. This has an emphasis on elaborate documentation. This methodology has an emphasis on elaborate documentation. We see, I have somebody way back there. That is correct. What is waterfall? I'm not sure who said it, actually. I'm being blinded by the lights, but excellent. You got the answer right. All about the details, 400. A document that links requirements throughout the validation process to ensure that all requirements defined for a system are tested. Okay, your head right there. Excellent, that is correct. The requirements testability matrix. Traceability, what did I say? Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, if it's an acronym, do not ask me to validate it. 1,000, please. And last, the project management plans are initially created during the PMBOK phase. The project management plans. Anybody? No, you already answered. That is correct. That is correct. So I appreciate it, and so now we have disagreement. We'll have to. We can get you with David afterwards. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of a question and answer session. We're very lucky to have both Francisco and Marnell here, but we also have David, who spoke earlier, who has extensive experience from a project management perspective. In fact, David actually teaches project management certification. But we also have Miles Burnett here, who is the Deputy Director of General Services. And I believe that from a historical perspective, and one of the things I wanted to compliment everybody on, I think that this is probably the most exciting. I've been in this business 22 years, and I can tell you where all the data centers were in town back in 1992, and the brick buildings and the man traps you walk through. And when I first started in this business, I didn't know what MVS stood for. And as you can tell, I still don't know my acronyms very well. We are in an exciting time in the state of California in terms of project management and project delivery. We've finally done a really good job of making this process something that sets everyone up to be successful. And I thought it was insightful that that the panel members, some of them, they called it the way they saw it, that in the past we haven't done a great job of setting people up to be successful. I think our new methodologies have made that made that very clear. And some of our projects in the past that were successful, even though we had some different processes in place, they had success matrices that are very easily to identify. And so the panel, I would like you to ask some questions of the panel, and specifically, if you'd like to just come up, or I'll run a microphone out to you. And I was going to actually do that and stand down here. Can you hear me? And so we're going to ask some panel questions. And I'd like to actually ask the first one. And I don't think every panel member is going to participate in every question, but I would like to ask start the first question. And I think it suffices to say that what I'd like to ask is, in our largest successful projects that we've done at the state, can anyone offer 3 key matrices that made the project successful, that were key components of the project? Anybody that can offer some insight to a specific project and the things that made it successful, I would be very interested in hearing. Does anybody want to volunteer to start that?
I have been very lucky in my career to be involved or be around many successful projects. And it's truly the commitment. I mean, there's a number of things, right? I mean, we talked about communications, well-defined requirements, but it's really about the team of people and them having the knowledge, skills, and abilities to embark on the journey and hopefully either pass their lessons learned on before they leave, because in many of these instances, your team is not there the whole time, right? People retire, or they get a promotion and move on, or they've just had enough and move on. But I think the successful projects that I've been around have had very well-written contracts, which meant they did their job as far as requirements were concerned, as far as deliverables were concerned. They held people, not just the supplier, but the state, to a rigor and to produce what the deliverables needed to be on. They managed and kept their contract up to date, and they had a great champion to help them along the way within their department. I see those main points as to help an area be successful.
Thanks, Marnell.
So I would agree. I'm not going to add another one. I would say the primary thing that I think would be commitment. So as Deputy Director of DGS, I'm responsible for DGS's fiscal implementation on its accounting side. We were a deferred department. It's a long story. But for various reasons, even though we're a partner on the project because of statewide procurement, we successfully lobbied the project to become part of to be in scope, right? And we were initially supposed to go live in 2015. And we didn't go live in 2015 because there was a gulfing chasm between delivered functionality of the fiscal project at that point and DGS's needs. So we spent the last year going back through the analyze, design, build, test, deploy phase. And the reason we've done that, and we're very close to being successful, we will be the first non-CalSTARS organization to go into fiscal. It's a huge accomplishment. And we've been able to do that, I think, by and large, because of the commitment of the organization to making it happen. And the resources and the time and the persons we've put at the project to make it happen, to overcome insurmountable obstacles to get there.
Congratulations, because they felt insurmountable, didn't they?
Oh, they did.
No, I mean, just from the vendor side of things, I think the most successful projects I've always been on, the ones that have finished successful, are where there is a project team where you are all on the same project team and not half the team has another job that they have to do during their day, their regular job. They're part of the project. So it's very focused, and you all have the same goal. Let's get this project done and let's get this project implemented. And this is the only job I have to worry about. And then from the IV&V side of me, it always comes down to good requirements. If you don't have good requirements, it makes it a lot harder through all the different phases of the software development life cycle. If you have nebulous requirements and you are chasing a ghost, basically, because you don't have a common understanding between the vendor and the project team of requirements. And that all comes down to communication. If communication is not good on the project, then that's one of the critical success factors that's not in place.
So what I've seen on a lot of these projects is the thing that makes them successful is that they actually follow your project management methodologies. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You're just the basic PM management and how you do the job, making sure that your team understands what the processes are and that they know how to follow them. one of the things we emphasize is, yes, you have project management plans, but then you train your team how they work and the processes and how they work. So going about a little bit deeper, governance is so very important. Having a steering committee that's involved and actually is willing to help make decisions that need to be made in a timely fashion. Following your change control processes. One of the best examples I have is when things start getting tight, the PM or the PD starts pushing through changes. I don't have time for an analysis. I don't have time for you to tell me what the cost might be or how it's going to impact my schedule. And they shove it through the process and they just take shortcuts. Or another one that's really hurts projects because they decide that it's not as important as they think it is because it takes too much time, is managing your schedule, keeping it up, understanding what you're doing, when you're doing it, who's there, or what I really love seeing, which I don't, is when they pack it on and you have 250% of your time setting the schedule. It's like, there's no way, you don't have that much time. Contract management, so very important. When the PM starts making side deals with a vendor, it's not documented, and then you don't know what's going on, or that PM decides, you know what, things are going bad, I'm going up for another job. The new PM comes in, you find out, oh my gosh, this thing is just it's horrible. So just following those basic project management methodologies. One of my favorites that I heard from a real big project was the PD would say to me, I don't need plans for plan's sake. And I try to explain to them, we don't want plans that are going to sit on the shelf. We don't want plans that are perfect. We want project management plans and processes that your project is going to use to manage and monitor this endeavor. And he actually did not understand that, and there's a new project director there. But it's just so very important. That basic project management methodologies is so important to have to be successful, and that's what I've seen.
I think that those are great comments. One of the things, that you were saying, that's not what a project plan is for. It's like the ships, right? A ship is safe in the harbor, but that's not what our ships are for. And that's great insight. I also think that everybody in this room needs to be very proud of some of the projects that we are getting ready to deliver. I think Fiscal is a great example of it. That is an endeavor that states literally a 50th our size would be thrilled to be able to accomplish. We're a nationwide practice, and we're doing some things here at the state of California that some of the smaller states that we work with would be just thrilled to be able to accomplish. And so everybody in this room needs to understand that we're doing some things that are, quite frankly, cutting edge, and that the organizations within the rest of the country are looking at and noticing. Is there anybody else that has any other questions in here? I think there's a lot of talent up here and knowledge.
Hi, I'd like to ask a question about risk management. So we talked a little bit about the project management body of knowledge and knowledge areas sort of at a high level. But I didn't really hear a whole lot about risk management, and I'm interested in each of your perspectives about the importance of risk management throughout the project and project development lifecycle, if you would, please.
So I guess we'll go in line, or maybe ladies first, right? So thank you, Andy, for that question, because I know you could answer it better than I, but it is an important question. So for every issue that a project comes up with, whether it be in the planning phase, all the way through to the development and then implementation phase, whenever there's issues, those issues need to be looked at to look at whether the risks are either high, low, or medium, right? And if some of them are low, you probably don't need to deal with them right away. They will deal with themselves over time. But your medium and high risk, so you have an issue and then you look at what the risk is to the project for success if that risk is not mitigated, and then how you would mitigate it, and you track them. I think often we get lost in issues. We don't actually define the issues well. And then when we go to, somebody makes a decision and we say, okay, we're going to put that on the shelf, or we're not going to implement that part, or that's going to be in the second phase, that's how we're going to handle it. We don't really document that, what that risk or what that decision process means to the rest of the project. Because maybe one of our areas needed to come on in that time frame, or they can't come on because of resource constraints or something for another 10 months, right? So it's important to document the risks, to look at them and to mitigate them, and not just push them to the side, because they will create havoc on your project if you don't mitigate the risks, the larger risks that happen.
So I'm going to piggyback on that a little. I am not an IT professional or a project management professional. I'm a deputy director of admin who was given a very, very large project that I had to deliver because it affected every part of my organization, not just DGS, but the things under me, my procurement, my accounting, my budgeting, my IT folks. I'm talking about the Fiscal project in particular. We had 30 systems that we were going to decommission out of this, and another 30 or so that we were going to interface with Fiscal. We had lots of risks. What I did was to try to hire very good people who brought things, kept things in front of me to my attention, and we dealt with them as we went. So it was all about transparency and having persons who could identify them. And we worked very, very closely with our project partners, the Fiscal project itself, and the system integrator. And I think we developed a system to where we could, lots of risks, more risks than I can actually believe, but that we dealt with them much as Marnell just described, where, you know, the important ones we dealt with, some we knew would, well, or hoped would deal with themselves over time. But it was all about identifying them and being very transparent about what we were going to do and how we were going to do it.
And so on a project, you know, you have the 10 knowledge areas, and you can write your 10 project management plans for each one of those knowledge areas. Well, depending on the size of the project, you don't need them all. But for any project, I do think you need a risk management plan, because that's how you're going to go forward so that you don't come up with issues. Now, risks are forward-looking, so you're trying to find the pitfalls that you're going to see down the road. From your vendor side, we've seen it on different projects, so we can brainstorm at the start and say, you need to worry about this, you need to worry about this, so that you have risks that you can mitigate that don't necessarily become issues. Because issues are happening right then and there, risks you are planning for, and you're going to mitigate those risks so that they don't become issues for the project down the pike. So, you know, and PMBOK is kind of silent on issues, right? They only look at it from a risk-based process, and they don't consider issues. But from my perspective and from an IV&V world, is you want to identify your risks so that they don't become issues and you can manage them up front.
So what I'm looking for when working with a project is that they do have a documented project or risk management process or plan in place, and that the team members understand it and know how it works, how the escalation process works for them, because any member should be able to bring up a risk, how they document it, how it's escalated up the process. And it should have information on there and on how you can document its impact, whether or not you come up with triggers, how you're going to deal with it, whether you're going to accept the risk, you're going to mitigate the risk, or you're going to deflect it, blame it on someone else. And then also depending on the size of the project, whether they have a risk and issues managers, because we do track risk and issues, because some of the issues they need to deal with them right away. So we track not every single one of them as an IPO, but the most critical ones. And we want to make sure that the project is actually paying attention, and the PD and the PM understand that there's always going to be risks. One of the things that I hear from projects is they don't want to bring up risks because it's going to make me look bad. So in steering committee meetings, I'll tell them, if you have no risks, they're lying to you. If your project's all green, they're not telling you the truth. Because there's always red, yellow, green. You're always going to have issues. And if you're not having issues, then no one's being transparent. And it's best to bring up that risk and say, here's the risk, here's what we're doing about it, or this is what we plan to do about it when this trigger happens. So making sure that they have something in place, at least to deal with them, and not to have, their head in the ground is so very important. And sometimes, really, you just accept the risk because there's nothing you can do about it. So Andy, you owe me lunch for asking that question.
We're short on time. I hope you, if there's anybody that didn't get a question answered, feel free to send it to us, and we'll actually distribute it and try and get the question answered. But I do want to tell you that I think that you just got some real sage advice from our panel. One of the things that that every successful project does is not hide the problems. By sticking your head in the sand, it becomes a transparency issue, and then it also becomes a finger-pointing issue. The more transparent, the more honest that you are about confronting your challenges and the problems, the easier that a project will be. Feel free to reach out to these organizations that you work with. They have resources. They have very, very smart people that have done this, and they've been under the trial of fire, and that's how they've learned these lessons. And they're very good at helping new projects get off the ground and advise you on the risks and the challenges that you will be confronting. I hope you learned something today or got something reinforced. I want to thank my panel members so much for taking time from their day to participate, and thank you very much for attending.